This story is dedicated to the occupied city of Severodonetsk and in support of the Ukrainian army. Artem was an ordinary man from a small town that had been under occupation for 2 years. His life was filled with routine work and daily worries. After the town was liberated, he found solace in walking through the forest with a metal detector, searching for remnants of weapons and shells. One evening, returning home after a long day, he felt an irresistible urge to explore something new and unusual. This feeling came suddenly and was so strong that Artem decided to follow it, despite his fatigue. He set off into the nearby forest, which had always seemed like a typical place for his searches. But this time, something was different. The forest, usually friendly and bright, was now shrouded in thick fog and had become ominous and mysterious. Artem felt as if the fog was calling him deeper into the woods, promising to reveal secrets hidden in its dark corners. This inexplicable call, combined with his inner desire for adventure, led Artem to the threshold of a world where time and space meld, where shadows of the past come to life, and where secrets are revealed only to those brave enough to peer into the darkness. He was ready to face his fears and uncover something important, forgotten, and unknown. Step by step, Artem delved into this eerie world, where every step and every turn promised new discoveries and trials. His journey had just begun, and he was prepared to face whatever the darkness had in store for him. In the depths of the impenetrable forest, where sunlight cannot penetrate through the dense fog, stands a silent and mysterious wood. The trees, with their twisted branches, seem like hands reaching to grasp unwelcome guests. The forest breathes with cold and secrets, evoking a feeling that every step here could be the last. As Artem moves through the thick fog, he suddenly hears a faint whisper coming from behind the trees. The whisper sounds like a distant moan, blending with the breath of the wind. He turns around but sees no one. Deciding it's just the wind, he continues on his way, but the whisper doesn't cease, growing louder instead. He senses that hundreds of eyes are watching him, hidden behind the tree trunks. Artem realizes that it's not just the wind, but something else, something that watches him, creating an eerie sense of danger. Among this grim beauty, Artem stumbles upon an abandoned house standing alone against the dark sky. It seems to be a witness to long-forgotten events, with its broken windows and creaking doors. This house, like a silent guardian, keeps its secrets from anyone who dares to come close. Artem feels an irresistible urge to look inside, but something holds him back. Suddenly, the doors of the house open with a deafening creak, as if inviting him in. Artem hesitates, but his curiosity wins. He steps inside and sees an old clock on the wall starting to tick, though all its mechanisms had long stopped. This clock ticks backward, making Artem ponder that the house is alive in its own way. The air smells of mold and old wood, and the floor beneath his feet creaks, seeming ready to collapse at any moment. He finds an old medallion, which, as it turns out, belonged to a local partisan commander. A heavy sense of the tragedy of this place washes over him. Continuing his journey, Artem comes across an old cemetery with leaning headstones, hidden under a thick blanket of fog. Here, time has stopped, and it seems that the shadows of the past protect the peace of those who have found their final rest. Each stone, each crack tells the story of lives long gone. Artem feels a chill down his spine but keeps moving forward. He approaches one of the graves and sees his own name on it. Startled and frightened, Artem tries to step back, but suddenly feels the ground under his feet begin to shake. He leaps back, and the ground settles, leaving him with the thought that the cemetery knows more than he can imagine. The night wind whispers among the headstones, calling out the names of those who rest here. The moonlight adds an extra layer of eeriness to the scene. He stumbles upon an old diary belonging to a local resident, describing the horrors of occupation and the struggle for survival. Artem opens the diary and starts reading. Today the enemy attacked our village again. We lost many, but we do not give up. At night, I hear the souls of the dead wandering the cemetery, whispering to us about the terrible events they endured. Their voices echo in the silence, reminding us that we will never forget. These words pierce Artem to his core, and he feels cold sweat running down his back. He steps into the outskirts of the dark city, shrouded in a gloomy sky. The city stands silent and empty, its streets, once full of life, now engulfed in silence. The ruined buildings stand as reminders that everything was once different, brighter, but now only shadows and memories remain. Artem moves through the streets, feeling the shadows of the past envelop him from all sides. Suddenly, he hears children's laughter coming from one of the houses. The laughter turns to crying, and Artem decides to explore the house. Inside, he finds an old, broken doll that begins to move on its own, as if trying to tell him something. He understands that this city holds the memories not only of people but also of the toys that were part of their lives. The doll suddenly falls silent, leaving Artem with the feeling that he has disturbed something sacred and forgotten. He finds a child's drawing depicting scenes of war and realizes that the city still remembers those horrific times. Suddenly, he notices a forest glowing with lights in the darkness. This place creates a magical atmosphere. The tiny lights, like souls lost between worlds, beckon him, promising to reveal secrets to those who dare to follow them. Artem follows these lights, leading him deeper into the forest. He tries to touch one of the lights, but it disappears, leaving behind a trail of warmth and a sense of peace. The lights lead him to a small clearing where he finds an old amulet hidden under the roots of a tree. The amulet starts glowing in his hands, guiding him further. The forest seems alive, with every rustle of leaves and crack of branches underfoot reminding him of the presence of unseen watchers. The amulet belonged to a local elder who led the partisan struggle, and now it passes its power to Artem. His path leads him to a long, dark corridor with flickering lights, leading into the unknown. The shadows dancing on the walls seem alive, creating a feeling that he is not alone. Artem feels his fear mixing with curiosity, and he continues on his way. He notices that the shadows repeat his movements with a slight delay. In one of the shadows, he sees a figure moving independently of him. This figure approaches Artem, and he realizes that it is his own fear, brought to life in this corridor. He is forced to face his fear to move forward. The shadows on the walls turn into terrifying faces, whispering sinister words into his ear. Artem feels the shadows of soldiers who once fought here, trying to convey their fears and experiences to him. They whisper, "Do not give up. We fought for you. Remember our sacrifices." The corridor leads him to an abandoned amusement park, standing in silence. The ruined rides silently tell of former joys and fun. The fog envelopes the carousels, adding more gloom to the place. Artem stops, looking at these ruined monuments of the past. Suddenly, he hears one of the carousels start to turn slowly on its own. He approaches and sees the shadows of children, once happy, now silently playing on the carousel. This sight moves him, making him think about the fleeting nature of happiness and joy. The children's laughter echoes as if from another world, adding more eeriness to the scene. Artem finds remnants of old posters and understands that this park was once a place of joy for children who now became victims of the war. Finally, his path leads him to a dark ritual in the depths of the forest. The fire burns brightly, illuminating the hooded figures standing in a circle. This mystical sight is both mesmerizing and terrifying. They whisper something, addressing forces hidden from the human eye. Artem, enchanted, watches the ritual, feeling himself becoming part of this dark magic. One of the figures notices Artem and gestures for him to join the ritual. He approaches, and they hand him a mysterious artifact glowing in his hands. He feels the power of this artifact flowing into him, giving him new understanding and strength. The ritual chants and spells